than they were prepared
let's
for.
play some
They were sitting across from a teenage girl. She didn't seem at all nervous, but she told them a story so cold, so brutal, that it brought her grandmother to tears. What completely despicable act did the girl describe to police that sent her grandmother into a full emotional collapse? The answer would horrify not just the family, but an entire country.
Suck my slut.
Welcome back to Crime A to Z, where we detail cases and criminals from their very beginning until well after other reporting ends. Today we'll be talking about the Elizabeth Olsen case. In St. Martin's, Missouri, the kind of place where families still leave their doors unlocked. The disappearance of a child wasn't just rare, it was nearly unthinkable. So, when it happened in their backyard, all hands were on deck. It was a case so inconceivable that it still stands as one of the most disturbing crimes of the investigators' entire careers. Let's dive in. And before we start, if you like how we present this video, or any of our videos, once we get going, we always genuinely appreciate you hitting like and subscribe for us, please. Let's go.
Suck my slut. Suck my slut. You suck my dick, bitch. Suck my
Elizabeth K. Olsen was 9 years old and in the 4th grade at Pioneer Trails Elementary School. She loved horses, baking cookies, and listening to Taylor Swift and Hannah Montana. It was a Wednesday evening, October 21st, 2009, the Olsen family was settling in at home. Dinner was nearly ready when 6-year-old Emma, a neighbor and close friend of Elizabeth's from 4 houses down, came by and asked if Elizabeth could come out and play. At first, Elizabeth's mom, Patty, said no. It was a school night, and they were about to eat. But both girls begged the mother, promising it would not be for long. Patty gave in. She told Elizabeth she could go, but only for 1 hour. She had to be home by 6. Patty knew that her sweet, shy daughter did not like the dark, so she was confident she'd be home before the sunset, around 6:25. But by 6:15, Elizabeth had not come home. Patty called the cell phone she had given Elizabeth. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. Then she called Emma's grandmother Karen, who Emma and her siblings lived with. To her shock, Karen said that she had not even seen Elizabeth. In fact, she didn't even know that Emma had gone out. Patty hung up and immediately called the police. By 6:30, officers were at the house. The woods behind the neighborhood were dense and sprawling. Nearly 60 acres of forest, brush, and terrain. That's where they focused the search. Neighbors joined in to help search as well. Police went to Emma's house, but the family insisted that Elizabeth had not been there. Emma told officers that she and Elizabeth had been walking and playing in and around the woods and nearby yards. She said that after about an hour, Elizabeth set off to walk home, just like she promised. Emma said that she watched her leave, and that was the last time she saw her. Everyone was justifiably worried. Volunteers from neighboring counties searched the woods and canvassed the streets. As the search continued through the night, authorities called in the FBI for assistance. One of the first things agents requested was Elizabeth's cell phone records. Her carrier responded quickly, and the records revealed important information. Elizabeth's phone had never left the area. The signal had been pinging consistently near her home and in the wooded area behind her neighborhood. But just as investigators began zeroing in on that location, the phone died. By early the next morning, the search resumed, now entering the 12th hour since Elizabeth went missing. Sniffer dogs had been deployed. Dive teams were called in to search the area's creeks and ponds. Helicopters with thermal imaging circled overhead. Every car coming into or out of the neighborhood was stopped and searched. Registered sex offenders in the area were interviewed, and neighbors were asked to report anything out of the ordinary. By midday, more than 300 people were involved. So many people showed up to help that authorities had to start turning volunteers away. They simply couldn't manage the overwhelming response.
Behind me here is the VFW. This is where authorities and volunteers have been coordinating the search all day. Now they're actually asking for no new volunteers. The outpour from the community has been outstanding. They just can't handle any more volunteers.
But still, they found nothing. It would take another several hours before they found anything worth noting. That's when they came across a hole, dug in the ground and covered back up. Authorities were notified and the hole was explored. But there were no signs of Elizabeth. Meanwhile, officers began re-interviewing neighbors, especially people closest to Elizabeth's last known location.
home!
That included Emma and her family again. Police didn't have any reason to question Emma's account about what
Man, I
happened,
fucked his
but
butt.
they wanted her to walk them through it again to see if any new clues might surface. This time, Emma hesitated. She added a few new details, then a few
I
more.
fucked his butt.
Eventually, a completely different version of events unfolded. Emma now told officers that it was not her idea to go ask Elizabeth to play. It was her older half-sister, 15-year-old Alyssa, who
Suck
told
my
her to ask.
motherfucking slut.
And she said that after she and Elizabeth had been playing outside for a while, Alyssa came outside and joined them. Then, just as things seemed to be winding down, Alyssa asked Emma to leave. Emma said that Elizabeth looked like she was trying to head home, but Alyssa encouraged her to go just a little farther into the woods first. Emma didn't think much of it and did as she was told and wandered back to her own yard to play alone. Then later that evening, Emma noticed what looked like blood on Alyssa's clothes. Emma had scraped herself on a thorn bush and called out for Alyssa to come down and help her. When Alyssa came down was when Emma noticed the blood. It was enough for police to turn their attention toward Alyssa. Born in 1994, Alyssa Daly Bustamante came from a deeply troubled family. Her father, Cesar Bustamante, struggled with substance use and was eventually sentenced to 10 years in prison for assault. Her mother, Michelle, was just 15 years old when she gave birth to Alyssa, and she too battled addiction with multiple arrests for DUI, marijuana possession, and theft. Her mother and father were cousins by marriage. When Alyssa was 2, the family moved to St. Martin's, Missouri so that Michelle could be closer to her mother, Karen Brooke. Michelle later had 3 more children, twin boys and another daughter.
Bitch,
But the
suck my
chaos
motherfucking
continued.
dick, bitch.
Alyssa often went hungry. Her mother used drugs around her and once even overdosed right in front of her. Eventually, Child Protective Services intervened. Alyssa and her siblings were removed from Michelle's care and sent to nearby Jefferson City to live with their grandparents, Karen and Gary Brooke.
You
The
suck my
grandparents
motherfucking
adored the
dick,
children
bitch.
and did their best to provide them with love, structure, and stability despite their rough start.
Suck my fucking
To
dick.
most, Alyssa seemed like a normal teenager with what many describe as a dark streak, but not dangerous.
Bitch, you suck my
Police visited the
motherfucking
family's
dick.
home again. This time, it noticed several holes that were dug in the family's yard, some resembling the hole that was found in the woods. They asked Alyssa about her actions that day, and she said that she had been walking alone in the woods. She said that she had not seen Elizabeth, and that she didn't even know that Emma had gone to her house. Alyssa's version of the day did not line up with what Emma told them. Alyssa was also vague about her route and her reasons. A search warrant was obtained to search the family's home and yard. Nothing they found seemed concerning
Goddamn motherfucker.
until
Goddamn,
they reached
goddamn,
Alyssa's room.
Goddamn dick, you
It was in
goddamn
complete disarray,
bitch.
but more concerning were the unsettling signs they found throughout the room.
Goddamn.
There were disturbing messages written on the walls, some of them in blood. On one of the walls, she had drawn the outline of a body with her sister's
Now
name,
fucking
Emma,
take that
written next to
goddamn
it.
bone.
There were also letters from her imprisoned father of awkward content, but the big find was a buried notebook that served as Alyssa's diary, which they, of course, read. It was time to have a chat with Alyssa at the station.
Dick.
Alyssa came willingly. She didn't seem nervous. In fact, she appeared calm and at ease. Since Alyssa was a minor, she was accompanied by a juvenile advocate there to protect her interests, named Toby Meyer. Leading the interview was Advocate there to protect her interests, named Toby Meyer. Leading the interview was Sergeant David Rice from the Missouri State Highway Patrol.
Spit.
He asked Alyssa to walk through the day of the disappearance.
So I went to school, and I was there all day. Then
How the goddamn unholy fuck.
home on the bus, and I home around
You
3.
suck my motherfucking goddamn dick, you son of a bitch.
3, 4.
Suck my fucking dick,
And I just thought I'm over for a while.
son of
And
a
then I
bitch.
went for a walk around 5 or 8, something like that. I was just walking around the block for a while.
Suck my dick,
And I
bitch.
was supposed to take my little sister with me, but I ditched her because she's on. And I was just walking around in the forest,
Suck
and
my-
then for about an hour, I came back, 5,
God fucking damn it.
36, and I went up in the area, And I heard like yelling. So I went outside and like she was down in the ditch area. She was
really fucking pissing me off.
On the ground there. And I helped her out. And she asked me why I was waiting. Because, you know,
Before the officer even raises the issue, Alyssa volunteers that any blood presumably reported by Emma was simply a result of her being on her period.
And so we went out there.
Stupid! You can kiss that fucking whore goodbye, because I'm fixing to stick my dick up that whore's butt.
Because they thought she was supposed to be out or something.
Stupid idiot! Stupid idiot!
She transitions from what she describes as a pretty ordinary day into the frantic events that followed.
And he's like, she's wearing because he couldn't find her. And that's when they started getting, you know, people were like, oh, what's going on? Like, where is she? But we ended up going to church. And also happened over there. It's from 7 to 8:15-ish.
Kiss that
and when we came back, there was 3 shared cars in our property. So those people out searching.
Oh! Man. Now that's what you call a butt fucking.
The officer then asks Alyssa to walk them through the day once more. They were not looking for new information. Instead, they were looking for what might change and what would hold up. A few small details would shift, but her overall story stayed the same. The officer patiently listened, but he knew more than he was letting on. Specifically, the information from Alyssa's diary. Many of her entries were disturbing. One of them read, "If I don't talk about it, I bottle it up. And when I explode, someone's going to die." But one entry, dated October 21st, the day Elizabeth vanished, had been completely scribbled over in blue ink.
You're about to get your
Initially,
dick sucked.
investigators could only make out 2 of the words beneath the scribble: slit and throat. Then, toward the end of the entry, they could read, "I gotta go to church now. LOL." Forensic analysis would later recover the full text beneath the ink. But for now, they were confident that Alyssa was hiding something very troubling.
Come on and get
The
your dick
officer
sucked.
changed direction. He asked Alyssa what she knows about Elizabeth.
She's kind of girly, like I don't know, like naturistic, I guess. She can be annoying. Okay.
Don't even think about it. You're gonna get.
By this point, Alyssa has presented as sweet and accommodating, but her friends' social media presence reflected otherwise. On her YouTube description, she listed that her hobbies included cutting and killing people. Her Twitter account also offered a glimpse into her mindset. She often wrote about addiction, depression, and terror. She pondered to friends, including her boyfriend, what it would be like to kill someone, and she speculated whether she would be caught or not if she did.
Here we go. She asked you that?
And it wasn't just toward others that Alyssa wanted to inflict pain. She had a history of cutting, and at the age of 13 had even attempted suicide. That resulted in her being prescribed Prozac. The officer next addressed
Come on
the
and get
holes.
your dick sucked.
And there were some folks out there.
Uzi spit.
Yeah, and I guess they said that you want to go out there and dig holes, I'd ask you some stuff about yourself. Because, you know, obviously that plays in here. If they were looking holes in your out there, of course, and that sort of thing.
Come on and get your dick
Just tell me a little bit about yourself so I understand where all this is coming from.
I really like nature, animals, being outside. It's just, you know, naturistic like that.
Let's get these fucking people
And
out
I
of
get bored
here.
really easily, and I get angry easily. So, you know,
Come on and get your dick sucked.
something to do.
Come on and get your dick
And
sucked.
I was countries.
Come on and get
I'm
your
very
fucking dick sucked.
animals that so.
Come on and get your dick sucked. Kiss my dick.
What kind of holes do you dig?
Kiss my dick.
Tell me about these holes you dig.
Kiss my dick. Kiss
You dig them a certain
my
way?
dick.
Every time, or just dig a hole?
Just dig a hole very much.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Wherever they're at, I mean, you dig a certain certain spot or what? Why did you get that?
I see a dick in your future. I see a dick in your future. I see a dick. I see a dick in your future. I see a dick. I see
Her
a
claiming
dick
that
in
her
your
grandfather
future.
would
I
know
see
the
a
exact
dick.
time she dug the hole
Dick.
is peculiar.
Dick. I see a dick in your future. I see a dick. I see a dick in your future. I see a dick.
It was a
You're gonna
nice
get your
day,
dick sucked.
so I decided to go outside, just do whatever. And
Fucking whore.
Why did you dig that hole?
because I was bored and
Fucking whore.
Tell me about that
You
hole,
fucking
though.
Chinese
It's a
whore.
very specific hole. I mean, it's a very unique hole, I should say.
are all your holes like that? No. Okay.
But why? You dug the hole, so you know what I'm talking about.
Get
That
that
was a
goddamn
very,
man.
very unique hole.
I guess. I was digging. I mean, whatever shape comes to mind. I was just
God damn it, I fucked up.
editing this one.
The reason I'm asking, it just seems like and you can understand why if people were out in the woods looking for a person if they were lost or, God forbid, looking for, if they thought it was God forbid, a body, why they would be alarmed by that hole, because they're, come along a hole, freshly dug hole that was, I'm still thinking, a perfect rectangle about 3 feet by about 4.5, 5 foot, straight shovel marks down, about, as you described when I talked to you out there,
Dick sucker.
about that deep.
Come on, dick sucker.
Straight down the first few inches of dirt, up until you get to that real hard packed dirt, almost as if somebody was digging down.
Come on,
Got to the
dick
point where you get
sucker.
to those roots in that hard dirt and realize it's too hard to dig. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a year old. They have sonar, they can run out over it, they can tell you the shape, the depth, the whole thing. I mean, we're talking about guys that had the FBI, they had instruments that can do just about everything. Have you dug a hole like this before then, or is this the first time?
It's not completely like this, but it's like kind of like that.
Okay, so
Maybe
then,
not for a shoebox.
okay, but this is the first time of that size.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We're not the big round one, but I can.
This is boring.
Grandma chimes in to back up Alyssa's penchant for digging
This
holes.
is boring. Come on and get your dick sucked. And you don't want that shit. Because when that demon sucks your dick, he bites
Mackenzie
it off.
Shirilla
and
wanted to be
swallows it.
famous. From the time she was a
And
young
leaves you
girl,
dickless.
Mackenzie was driven to have her
Son
image
of a
out there.
bitch.
She was always posting every part of her life on social media, every friend she had, everything she was doing. Every moment was content for her carefully crafted online persona, but what started as innocent teenage vanity would spiral into something far more sinister. Keep this detail in mind as we dive deeper. Her obsession with attention would ultimately destroy 3 lives and expose the darkness lurking beneath her perfect Instagram facade. Even in elementary school, Mackenzie understood the power of image. While other kids played games, she was already thinking about how to present herself to the world. By middle school, she was documenting every outfit, every friendship, every experience for her growing online audience. High school changed everything for Mackenzie.
God
The
fucking
transformation
damn
was
it.
dramatic and impossible to
Man,
ignore.
God fuck
Gone
it.
were the modest clothes and
Son
innocent
of a
poses.
goddamn bitch.
Now she
God
dressed like
fuck
she was
it.
auditioning for adult entertainment
fuck
instead
it.
of attending chemistry class. Half shirts,
Look at that
extremely
whore.
short shorts, and furry boots that went up to her knees. The outfits were deliberately provocative and attention-grabbing, designed more for social media content than typical school attire.
Look at that
The
fucking
clothing was
whore.
just the beginning of her reinvention. New Prada bags appeared weekly, each one worth more than most students'
bitch.
monthly allowances. Designer shoes became her signature. Fuzzy boots, expensive sneakers, high-end brands that screamed wealth and status. Other students couldn't help but notice the transformation. Mackenzie definitely wanted to be the it girl, the center of attention wherever she went. Everyone looking at her became an addiction she couldn't shake. Her poses were calculated.
Come on and get your dick
The same
sucked.
kissy face in every photo, the same sultry expressions,
Come on and
the
get
same
your
carefully
dick sucked.
crafted image designed to maximize likes and comments.
Come on and get
She
your
had a
dick
master plan that
sucked.
went far beyond typical teenage social media use.
Come on
Mackenzie
and
wanted
get
to be
your
an
dick
influencer
sucked.
more than anything else in the world. She was driven in ways that set her apart from other kids at school. While they worried about homework and weekend plans, she was building a brand, crafting an image, and pursuing fame with
Come on
single-minded
and get your
determination.
dick sucked.
Building a successful influencer brand requires more than just the right look and expensive accessories. You need credibility. You need a lifestyle that others want to emulate. Most importantly, you need the perfect supporting cast. Mackenzie understood this better than most adults twice her age. She systematically built her empire, starting with the most crucial foundation, loyal followers who would enhance her image both online and in person. Her friends followed her everywhere she went, down every hallway at school, into
Come on
every
and get your
bathroom.
goddamn
Anywhere
dick
Mackenzie
sucked.
walked, they formed a line trailing behind their undisputed queen. Any bathroom Mackenzie entered, she had 10 girls in there with her, like an entourage protecting their celebrity. Rosie and Nina were her main girls, her inner circle, her most trusted allies in the campaign for social media dominance. Mackenzie was definitely the queen bee, always positioned to be the star of the show. The other
Come on
girls
and get
were less
your
like
dick
friends
sucked.
and more like security guards, protecting their leader and ensuring she remained the center of attention in every situation. The dynamic was carefully
That little
orchestrated
girl.
and ruthlessly maintained.
What a
Most of them
crock
wanted to be models themselves. They wanted to be Instagram famous, posting photos with captions like, "Look at me, I'm out at this party," or "Look at this new outfit I got." They definitely thought they were the hottest girls in school, and they made sure everyone else knew it too. But Mackenzie needed more than just loyal followers and designer clothes to
Come on and
complete
get
her
your dick
influencer
sucked.
package. She needed the perfect boyfriend. Not just any boyfriend, but exactly the right kind of boyfriend who would elevate
Come
her
on
status
and
and
get your
provide
dick
the lifestyle
sucked.
content her audience craved. Enter Dominic Russo, who was everything Mackenzie needed for her perfect narrative.
I'm bringing out that
Dominic was older,
whore.
a crucial detail that made Mackenzie seem more mature and desirable. He was a junior when Mackenzie started dating him, while she was 3 years younger and still finding her footing in high school. By 2022,
Come on,
they had been
get your
together
dick
for several
sucked.
years, long enough to seem like a serious, enviable relationship. More importantly, Dominic was 20 and out of school, while Mackenzie was still completing her senior year. This age gap gave her access to an adult lifestyle that other high school girls could only dream about. She could post content from experiences beyond the typical teenage realm. But age wasn't Dominic's
Come
only
on,
attractive
get your
quality.
dick sucked.
He came from a well-to-do family with real money and established connections. Dominic lived in his own house right next door to his parents, the perfect setup that provided independence while maintaining family support and financial backing.
Bitch.
His house wasn't just a place to live, it was a content creator's dream. Dominic had his own recording studio where he could work on his music and pursue his artistic ambitions.
So,
He
bitch.
dabbled in investing in Bitcoin, riding the cryptocurrency wave that promised massive returns for savvy young investors. Dominic wanted to be a singer and spent hours writing songs and developing his sound. He had the kind of creative passion and entrepreneurial drive that looked impressive on social media. But most importantly for Mackenzie's purposes, he made money and he provided for her in ways that enhanced her lifestyle brand. She was glued to Dominic's hip from the moment they met. They were truly inseparable,
Come on,
which
get your
created the
dick
kind of
sucked.
romantic content that performed well across all social media platforms. Mackenzie basically lived in Dominic's house, and even though she was only 17, a living arrangement that gave her access to an adult lifestyle, while still technically being a minor. They were constantly entertaining and having
Come
people
on,
over,
get your dick
throwing the
sucked.
kind of parties that generated endless content for Mackenzie's
Come on,
needs.
get your
By
dick
senior year of
sucked.
high school, Mackenzie seemed to have achieved everything she had worked
Come
toward.
on, get your
A hot
dick
boyfriend
sucked.
who provided financial stability and social
Come on,
status.
get your
A
dick
loyal girl
sucked.
squad who supported her brand and enhanced her image.
Fucking
Companies beginning to send her cute merchandise to model, the first signs that her influencer dreams might actually become a reality.
Man,
She
she's
was living a
supposed to
life
be
that any other girl her
queen
age would envy.
She's
carefully
too
documenting
little.
every moment for her
She's too
growing
young.
online audience. But there was something else funding this perfect lifestyle, something Mackenzie kept
no
carefully hidden
fucking
from her
whore
polished
wannabe.
social media presence. Remember this detail because it reveals the true darkness beneath her carefully crafted image. Behind the designer clothes and relationship goals content, Mackenzie had a mysterious source of income that didn't match her high school student status. Chip goals content, Mackenzie had a mysterious source of income that didn't match her high school student status. She was spending thousands of dollars on expensive items with no documented job or legitimate income source that anyone could identify. The money was flowing from somewhere, and Mackenzie wasn't being subtle about flaunting her wealth. She openly bragged about expensive purchases online, posting photos with designer items that cost more than most people's monthly salaries. For a teenage girl with no apparent
Come on,
employment,
get your
spending
dick
was
sucked,
suspicious and
son.
unexplained. But Mackenzie's financial secrets were just the beginning of what she was hiding from the world.
Bitch.
Keep this in mind. The truth about her income source would eventually expose a side of Mackenzie that would shock everyone who thought they knew her. The evidence would later emerge through her phone records and digital footprint. Photos showed Mackenzie posing with large stacks of cash.
That sounds like a good song. Come on and get your dick sucked.
She had obtained fake identification documents designed to help her pass as an adult, suggesting she was involved in activities that required age verification.
Bitch.
Most disturbing were the Snapchat conversations that revealed the true source of her wealth. Mackenzie Shirilla wasn't just focused on traditional influencer income like brand deals and sponsorships. She had found other ways to fund her expensive lifestyle using her online presence to generate income through activities that weren't part of typical social media content creation.
Come on and get your
Even
dick
with money
sucked.
flowing in and her public image perfectly polished,
And
serious
then that
problems were
demon's
developing
gonna
in her
bite your dick
relationship
off
with
and
Dominic.
swallow that
The
shit,
foundation of her
shit it
perfect
out,
influencer life
make
was
you eat
beginning
it,
to crack
and you're
in
gonna
ways
be
that would soon
dickless.
become impossible to
Dickless
hide.
wonder.
By spring 2022, the
Ah,
relationship
fuck.
was deteriorating rapidly.
Ho!
Problems weren't just typical teenage relationship drama. They were serious
I
conflicts that
wasn't
revealed
paying
Mackenzie's true
attention.
personality when cameras weren't recording and followers weren't watching.
I was too
Mackenzie
busy
controlled
cussing.
every aspect of Dominic's life with
Come
an
on,
intensity
get
that
your
went
dick
far
sucked.
beyond
He just
normal
got his dick
relationship
sucked.
dynamics. He was responsible for driving her to school every morning and picking her up every afternoon. Like a personal
get your
chauffeur,
dick
her schedule
sucked.
revolved entirely around her needs. She had very demanding dietary requirements, and Dominic was expected to handle
Come on,
cooking
get
and
your
meal
dick
preparation
sucked.
to meet her specifications. He was responsible for entertaining her constantly, planning activities and experiences that would keep her satisfied and provide content for her social media channels. Dominic was also expected to take her on vacations and trips, funding expensive getaways that enhanced her lifestyle brand while draining his financial
Come on,
resources.
get your
The
dick
relationship
sucked.
had become completely one-sided, with Mackenzie making demands and Dominic struggling to meet her ever-increasing expectations. Every time they would argue or fight about these arrangements, Mackenzie would throw intense fits that revealed her true
Come on,
character.
get your
She
fucking
would
dick
belittle
sucked.
Dominic in front of others, calling him degrading names and treating him with complete disrespect. Between her constant demands and explosive jealousies, Dominic was losing patience with the relationship. But what happened next would expose just how dangerous Mackenzie could become when someone tried to resist her control.
Come
The
on,
escalating
get your
pattern
dick
of abuse was about to take a turn that would put lives at risk.
Come on.
Dominic's
Oh
mother
my
made a
God.
disturbing discovery
Oh
that
my
provided
good
crucial
God
insight
damn.
into her son's relationship. She found videos that Dominic had made using a friend's phone, secretly recording interactions with Mackenzie when she came to their house making demands. You could hear the intensity and rage in her voice as she made increasingly threatening demands for access to Dominic's house.
Man, I just fucked up.
Because you were, you little weak. This is your last chance to open the door, or you are not coming out of this house all night, because I will not leave.
Suck my dick, bitch. You suck my dick, bitch. Come on and get your dick sucked. Come on and get your dick sucked. Come on and get your dick sucked, bitch.
I will key your car if you do not let me in the house.
I will key your car.
And if you don't let me in the house, yes.
Come on and get your dick
Yeah, I know,
sucked.
so just let
Come
me in the
on and
house.
get your dick sucked. Come on and get your dick sucked.
I am calm. I don't think you get to decide that with your weird trauma problems.
Come on, you dick sucker, get your dick sucked. Come on and get your dick sucked.
I'm gonna give you one last chance to open the door. I'm gonna
Come on
leave
and
and
get
do what I
your
said I was
dick
gonna do.
sucked.
Okay? No, you're not
Come on
coming
and
to
get
dinner.
your dick
No,
sucked.
you're not. I'm coming to dinner too. I'm coming to dinner too.
Come on and get your dick
You should
sucked.
have told me you wanted to come.
Kiss my dick.
It's hard here. You put me on the reservation, so open the door, you dumb.
Come on and get your
You
dick
cannot
sucked.
open. Like,
Kiss
I'm
my
joking.
dick.
You think I'm joking. You think I'm joking.
Dick.
I'm
Dick. Now fuck up below.
You know exactly what I mean. You know exactly what I mean. You're gonna come open this door right now, or there's gonna be a serious
Come on
problem.
and get your dick sucked.
No, you can't keep making all these threats and I can't
You
open the door.
keep kicking out me out of a place that you say is my home.
Because I didn't kick you out, you took all your dicks. And said we were done.
I did not say we are done.
You can't keep making all these threats.
Stop being a little.
I can't let you in my house with how you're acting. Like it's as simple as that.
This
Come
wasn't
on,
just
you get
teenage
your
drama
fucking
or
dick
relationship
sucked.
conflict. The video captured the same pattern of threats, intimidation, and escalating violence that revealed Mackenzie's
Come on,
willingness
you
to use
get
fear
your
and aggression to get what she wanted. Behind the influencer persona was someone capable of sustained psychological abuse and increasingly dangerous threats, but the threats weren't limited to verbal intimidation. Mackenzie was already using vehicles as weapons in her campaign to control Dominic, something that would soon escalate to deadly levels. Just 2 weeks before the crash that would change
everything,
everything, Dominic called his mother in a state of panic.
He
He was in a car with Mackenzie on Interstate 71, one of Ohio's busiest highways, when Mackenzie began driving erratically while making threats. She was swerving the vehicle dangerously while screaming at Dominic, using the car as a weapon to terrorize him while they traveled at highway speeds. Mackenzie was threatening to crash the car deliberately, putting both their lives at risk to her point about who was in control of their relationship. The incident was so dangerous that Dominic had to pull over at an unsafe location on the side of the busy highway. He called someone else to come pick him up because he was genuinely scared that Mackenzie would follow through on her threats and cause a deadly accident. This wasn't an isolated moment of anger or temporary loss of control. It was a deliberate preview of what Mackenzie was planning for their final confrontation. She had already demonstrated her willingness to use a vehicle as a murder weapon. The July 30th crash would simply be the perfected version of what she had practiced 2 weeks earlier. Understanding Mackenzie's true nature requires hearing from people who knew her before she became famous for murder. Tyler, her former boyfriend, provided crucial testimony that revealed the depth of her psychological problems and capacity for violence. Tyler had dated Mackenzie during a period when she was also involved with Dominic, a situation that exposed her pattern of manipulation and deceit. They had been together for about 2 months when Tyler and Dominic discovered that Mackenzie was actively cheating on both of them simultaneously. But the cheating wasn't the most disturbing aspect of Tyler's relationship with Mackenzie. During their time together, he witnessed behavior that convinced him she was mentally just not all there, as he would later tell police investigators. Tyler's assessment was based on direct experience with Mackenzie's psychological instability and violent tendencies. He described her as crazy in ways that went far beyond typical teenage drama or relationship conflicts. Most disturbing were Mackenzie's claims about supernatural control over Dominic. She had told multiple people that she practiced voodoo and had cast spells on Dominic to prevent him from breaking up with her. Mackenzie claimed she had obtained a piece of Dominic's hair and used it to create a voodoo doll that she kept in her room. She truly believed in these supernatural practices and regularly used a pendulum to try to get answers to questions about her relationship in the future. But before we examine the play itself, it's important to understand the context that made July 30th, 2022 the perfect moment for Mackenzie to execute her plan.
Well,
Several factors
I think it's best
converged to
if
the
I
ideal circumstances for murder.
take the
July
fucking
30th, 2022 was a significant date for multiple reasons.
Come on, get your
The
dick
crash
sucked,
occurred
you son of a
exactly 2
bitch.
days before Mackenzie's 18th birthday, a milestone that would legally transition
Come
her
on,
from
get your
juvenile
dick
to adult
sucked.
status. The timing suggests that Mackenzie knew her actions might have different legal consequences depending on when they occurred. Strongsville, Ohio was experiencing beautiful summer weather, and graduation parties were happening everywhere. The social atmosphere provided perfect cover for a night out that wouldn't seem suspicious to anyone monitoring their activities. Mackenzie and Dominic were looking for something fun to do, giving Mackenzie the opportunity to suggest activities and locations that would serve her ultimate plan. The casual nature of their evening plans meant that any unusual detours or route changes might not immediately seem suspicious to passengers in the car. They ended up at a friend's house
Come
where
on,
what appeared
get
to be
your
a
fucking
typical
dick
teenage
sucked, you son
gathering.
of a bitch.
Around 2 a.m., Mackenzie and Dominic were seen smoking at the party, engaging in normal social behavior that wouldn't raise any red flags about Mackenzie's intentions. But then Mackenzie did something that surprised everyone who knew her. She offered the party host psychedelic mushrooms, a gesture that was completely unlike her usual behavior. Her friends had never seen Mackenzie use substances before, let alone distribute them to others. This unusual behavior suggests that Mackenzie was already implementing a plan for the evening. By offering drugs to others and being seen using substances herself, she was establishing a potential explanation for any erratic behavior or poor decision-making that might occur later in the night. The mushroom incident created a narrative that Mackenzie could later use to explain the crash as a drug-induced accident rather than deliberate murder. She was already building her defense story hours before committing the actual crimes.
Come on,
At
get your
3:30
dick
a.m., the
sucked.
group left the party and drove to another friend's place across
Now,
town.
fuck, I've been
They spent a little
overlooking
over
this
an
shit
hour
right
watching
here.
South Park,
I'm fixing to stick
engaging
my
in normal
dick in your
social
hole.
activities that further established the evening as typical teenage behavior rather than a prelude to murder. Mackenzie fell asleep on the couch, or at least appeared to be sleeping. This detail becomes important because it established that she had been resting and wasn't impaired by exhaustion when she made the decisions that followed. At 5:15 a.m., Mackenzie made the announcement that would set her murder plan in motion. She decided it was time to go home, but then made a request that would determine who lived and who died that morning. Mackenzie asked to drive instead of allowing Dominic to operate the vehicle. This was unusual because Dominic typically handled driving responsibilities,
Oh my good
especially during
goddamn.
late night or early morning hours when visibility and road conditions
Man, I
require
fucked
extra
up.
caution. but Mackenzie insisted on taking
I'm
control of the
I'm
vehicle,
fixing to get my
Dominic
dick
agreed to
sucked,
her
and I don't
request.
want that.
This decision gave Mackenzie the power to determine their route, their speed, and ultimately their fate. When Davian Flanagan asked for a ride home, Mackenzie initially refused to let him enter the car. Her refusal wasn't based on space limitations or convenience. She simply didn't want Davian as a passenger in the vehicle. After an argument between Mackenzie and Davian, Dominic intervened to convince Mackenzie to give their friend a ride home. This intervention sealed Davian's fate and made him an unintended victim of Mackenzie's murder plot. All three of them got into the car together, with Mackenzie behind the wheel in complete control over where they would go and what would happen next. The stage was set for what investigators would later recognize as a carefully planned double homicide. But first, let me pause here to explain why cases like Mackenzie's are so important to understand. The story we're telling reveals how social media culture can create monsters hiding behind innocent facades. If you want to dive deeper into cases where the truth is far darker than it appears on the surface, make sure you subscribe to Women of Crime. We expose the reality behind female criminals who use society's assumptions about young women to hide their deadly intentions. Now, back to that fatal morning and the evidence that would prove Mackenzie's true intentions. Instead of taking the direct route toward Davian's house, surveillance cameras captured Mackenzie making a series of deliberate decisions that revealed her actual plan. At the intersection between Pearl Road and Progress Drive, the car made a turn that took them away from any logical destination. If Mackenzie had been genuinely interested in taking Davian home, she would have continued along Pearl Drive toward his house. Instead, she deliberately turned onto Progress Drive, a road that her GPS and local knowledge would have told her was a dead end. Progress Drive was a road that ended abruptly with a brick wall, exactly the kind of location that would guarantee a fatal crash.
Oh my good goddamn.
The most damning evidence came from the surveillance footage that captured Mackenzie's behavior during those crucial moments. At 5:34 a.m., security cameras positioned at the intersection showed Mackenzie's Toyota approaching slowly and deliberately. The footage shows her turn signal was activated, indicating she was making a conscious decision about her route rather than acting impulsively or under the influence of substances. She was applying brakes as she approached the intersection, demonstrating that she had full control of the vehicle and was making calculated choices. The turn itself was slow, controlled, and deliberate, exactly the kind of precise maneuvering that someone would make if they were executing a carefully planned route rather than driving recklessly or erratically. This surveillance footage became crucial evidence because it proved that Mackenzie wasn't under the influence of drugs, wasn't driving recklessly, and wasn't making impulsive decisions. She was implementing a plan that required clear thinking and precise execution. But what happened approximately 50 seconds later would provide the most chilling evidence of Mackenzie's true intentions and remove any doubt about whether the crash was accidental. The second piece of surveillance footage captured the final moments before impact, and the transformation it shows is absolutely terrifying. The same car that had been moving slowly and deliberately was now traveling at an incredibly high rate of speed. Mackenzie had accelerated from a calm, controlled 30 miles per hour to over 90 miles per hour in less than a minute. The car appeared on camera as nothing more than a white blur, moving like a missile toward its target. Most importantly, the footage showed controlled 30 miles per hour to over 90 miles per hour in Mackenzie had accelerated from a calm, controlled 30 miles per hour to over 90 miles per hour in less than a minute. The car appeared on camera as nothing more than a white blur, moving like a missile toward its target. Most importantly, the footage showed that Mackenzie never applied the brakes during this final approach. There were no skid marks on the road, no evidence of any attempt to slow down or avoid the collision, no signs that she had lost control of the vehicle or was trying to prevent the crash. The surveillance evidence proved that Mackenzie had made a deliberate decision to accelerate to maximum speed and maintain that speed all the way to impact. This wasn't reckless driving or impaired decision-making. It was cold-blooded murder. In those final seconds before impact, the footage shows an intense swerve as the car narrowly avoided hitting a large tree. This detail becomes important because it demonstrates that Mackenzie retained control of the vehicle and was making split-second decisions about her target right up until the moment of impact. She could have hit the tree, which might have resulted in a different type of crash with different injuries and survival rates. Instead, she made a calculated adjustment to ensure the car hit the brick wall at maximum speed with the greatest chance of killing her passengers. The crash itself was devastating beyond description. The impact was so severe that the car literally split in half, with pieces of the vehicle scattered across a wide area. The damage was consistent with a missile strike rather than a traffic accident. For 45 minutes, the destroyed vehicle remained undiscovered in the early morning darkness. The crash site was in an industrial area where businesses were closed and foot traffic was minimal during the pre-dawn hours. At 6:15 a.m., a passerby on a motorcycle discovered the wreckage and called 911 to report what appeared to be a horrific accident. When first responders arrived at 6:25 a.m., their body cameras captured the scene that would haunt investigators and family members for years to come. The officers' reactions captured on their body cameras revealed the true horror of what Mackenzie had done.
Fucking Christ.
Alright, guys. Radio free occupant. No one's conscious. No one's breathing.
Jesus goddamn fucking Christ.
Oh my god, dude.
Kiss my fucking dick. Kiss my dick.
Who can hear my voice?
Kiss my
They
fucking
quickly
dick.
identified 3 occupants in the destroyed vehicle. 2 people were clearly deceased, 20-year-old Dominic Russo in the front passenger seat and 19-year-old Davian Flanagan in the back seat. Both had suffered injuries that were immediately fatal upon impact, but one person had survived the crash that had killed her passengers. Mackenzie Sherilla was found wedged underneath the dashboard with her head trapped in the wreckage, but she was breathing and conscious.
This is bad, guys.
Kiss my fucking dick.
She's alive. We gotta get her
Kiss
out.
my dick.
The rescue operation
Kiss my
required
fucking
firefighters
dick.
to cut through the twisted metal to extract Mackenzie from the wreckage. Throughout the process, she remained conscious and responsive, though she claimed to have no memory of what had happened. Mackenzie had suffered serious injuries, including a broken femur, a broken arm, several fractured ribs, and internal damage that would require multiple surgeries. But her injuries, while severe, were survivable, unlike the fatal trauma that killed Dominic and Davian. The most telling detail about Mackenzie's survival was discovered during the rescue operation. She was the only person in the car who had been wearing a seatbelt at the time of impact. If Mackenzie's plan had been a murder-suicide, it would make no sense for her to take safety precautions that would increase her chances of survival. The seatbelt proves that Mackenzie intended to survive the crash that would kill her passengers. This detail would become crucial evidence in establishing that the crash was a planned murder rather than an impulsive suicide attempt that had gone wrong. Before investigators could piece together the evidence of premeditation, they had to complete the heartbreaking task of notifying victims' families about what had happened. The process of notifying parents about their children's deaths is always tragic, but Mackenzie's case presented unique challenges because the families had no idea that their loved ones had even been in danger. Mackenzie's parents, Natalie and John Sherilla, received the first notification because Mackenzie had been transported to the hospital for emergency treatment. They rushed to the medical facility believing their daughter had simply been injured in a car accident.
Progress on you. Car to a building. 2 are deceased in the vehicle.
Fuck.
I don't know whether there's one that we don't know. His name's Jacob. Does anyone know Jacob?
No. Stop! What's going on?
Guys,
Christ, you fuck.
I know, we're doing this. Your daughter's okay. She's talking to us. I talked to her. Okay? Your daughter's alive. Okay? Your daughter's alive.
But delivering the news to Dominic's parents was even more heartbreaking because they had no idea that their son had even been out that morning, let alone that he was dead. The officer approached Dominic's mother, Christine, at her home with the impossible task of destroying her world with a single conversation.
Hi, Christine. Hey, can I talk to you real quick? So there was an incident. I believe Dominic may be involved.
What?
Bitch, suck my motherfucking dick, bitch.
Last night.
Yeah,
Okay.
what happened?
You want to come out here? Or do you want us to come inside? It's up to you.
Let me just think about my second.
Okay. Unfortunately, there was an accident
Kiss my motherfucking dick.
involving Mackenzie, Davian, and who we believe is Dominic, is the third person.
Kiss my dick.
Okay? Last night.
Kiss my dick.
Just hold on, just stay seated. Just hold on. Just listen.
Take a deep breath.
She's cute.
Look at me. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Okay?
She spit.
Right now, all we know is that the driver, who is Mackenzie, is at Metro. Okay? Hold on. Just stay seated, please.
Kiss my fucking dick. Kiss my dick. Kiss my dick. Kiss my dick. Kiss my dick.
The other 2 passengers, like I said, was Davian and who we believe is Dominic, okay? From what Mackenzie told us. Okay? Both Davian and Dominic are deceased.
Oh God!
Yeah. Sit down.
Both Davian and Dominic are deceased.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Does she have a speed effect on?
Sit down. Sit down.
That's sad.
And Dominic are deceased.
Oh God!
Yeah.
That's so sad. That's so sad. Going to get you.
You know, you are going to be placed under arrest.
Me?
Mm-hmm. You're Allie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to be for predatory criminal sexual assault.
We have the newly released body camera video of the moment a substitute teacher is arrested for having sex with an 11-year-old boy. Allie Barfield admitted to having sex with that boy and is now serving prison time. But she wasn't always honest in this investigation, and the body camera video proves that. I'll show you what she told detectives at her front door and how she blamed the victim in this case. We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
Get your dick sucked, bitch.
Allie Barfield entered a guilty plea for having sex with an 11-year-old student of hers. It is a shocking story, and what's even more shocking is how she tried to play it when detectives arrived at her front door. Before I get to that body camera video, here is Barfield in court in Macon County, Illinois, where all of this took place about 3 hours south of Chicago. This is the hearing where Barfield admitted to abusing her student who was just 11 years old. But Barfield wasn't always truthful to law enforcement in this investigation. This is the body camera video of the day that she was arrested in April of last year. Now, part of the audio is redacted, which is why you'll hear it drop out at times.
Come on and get your dick sucked.
We can't answer the door right now. We need to this.
Come on and get your dick sucked.
Hey, how are you? Hey, is Allie? Yeah? Okay.
Oh my God.
Sheriff's office, I'm assisting him out in police department. Okay, just you guys in the case? Okay.
And someone else.
Does she have a spitty fat on?
Okay, just you guys in the case? Okay.
And someone
with a spitty fat. Unfortunately, it's blurred out.
So here's the thing. We have a search warrant.
I want to smell a spitty fat.
You know, you are going to be placed under arrest.
Me?
Mm-hmm. You're Allie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to be for predatory criminal sexual assault too. Grooming. Okay, so that's why we're here, to take a look, to make sure we gather what we need out of the house, okay?
For what?
Yeah, so I'll talk to you more about it in a second, okay? As a matter of fact, if you guys want to go in and start bringing that
the dogs up?
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
please.
We're going to have to follow you, just to make sure, okay? You have James, you want to stay here with me?
So you can see Barfield acting confused and
Come on,
shocked
get
as to
your
why
dick sucked.
detectives are at her door accusing her of sexual abuse and grooming. This is going on at 3:30 in the afternoon on April 3rd, 2024. The day prior, detectives say an 11-year-old came to the police station with his parents saying Barfield, his 6th grade teacher, sexually assaulted. Barfield worked in the Decatur, Illinois school system. She was considered a long-term substitute teacher for the 6th grade class. She gave off the fun teacher vibes on social media. Here she is on TikTok with a young girl. Now, hours before her arrest, police say the 11-year-old boy did an interview with a specialist to talk about the abuse. Deputies also collected a sexual assault kit from the victim. Now, here's more of what the detective told Barfield at her front door when she was arrested.
First, I have to read your okay, so I do have a recommended sound, because you say every year, will be using free tour, you have a right to attorney, and if you have approval, one will be appointed, representing for any cost to you, you understand? Okay, have you ever been in trouble before? I'm going to give you an opportunity to explain, but long story short is, okay, you've got a significant number of evidence to include the conversation that you had.
According to to the court documents we have, at her front door, Barfield denied having sex with the boy. The audio is redacted at that point, but you heard the detective say they had a considerable amount of evidence, including a conversation that Barfield had. Now, he's likely talking about the conversation Barfield had with the boy earlier that day, just hours before all of this happened, after his forensic interview. Police say that they and the boy's parents were listening in on a text, a voice call, and a FaceTime that Barfield had with the young boy. They say during those conversations, Barfield talked about birth control and pregnancy. She also told the boy to delete text messages, and then they moved on to a phone call. And during that call, Barfield told the boy that she could not get pregnant. She is talking with an 11-year-old. She is in her 30s. Now, police say on March 29, 2024, Barfield had that 6th grade student, her victim, over to her house. It was for a play date. That child's mom noticed her son acting differently after the visit, though. According to police, the mom then checked her son's phone and social media, and when they talked more about what happened, the boy said that Barfield had sex with him. Not only did Barfield reportedly have sex with that boy, she also sent him $700 of cash app. She bought him headphones that go for more than $400. She also sent nude photos to him on Snapchat. Here's the moment Barfield is led away after this story gets even more shocking.
One of those fucking pieces of very ridiculous, son of a bitch.
Oh my god. No, listen.
She's cute from the back.
This up right here. Yep.
Barfield then gets into a police vehicle to talk to detectives. The audio is redacted, but according to court documents that we have, this is what she said. At first, she once again denied having sex with the boy, but then the detective said he had seen the nude pictures that she sent the boy on Snapchat. And when asked why she would send nude photographs, a teacher in her 30s to a boy just 11 years old, she said, quote, he kept asking and asking and asking and wouldn't leave me alone. The document also states that the victim had sent the teacher explicit pictures. Have you ever noticed how some habits just sneak into your day without you even realizing it? For a lot of people, that means reaching for something on autopilot.
Come on, get your dick sucked.
Run down, even though you know it's not good for you, which is why I want to tell you about our sponsor, Fume. It's an award-winning flavored device that is great for combating oral fixation and fidgeting. It delivers great taste as your usual pick-me-up without any harmful chemicals. And instead of inhaling vapor, you simply breathe in natural, non-toxic flavors that satisfy the craving without the downside. Fume is not about quitting. It's about replacing. It's a flavored air device that gives you the same hand-to-mouth habit, but without the downsides. And there's no way to use non-toxic flavors. One thing I think you'll really like is the design. A sleek wooden piece. It feels great in your hand. It has some magnetic fidget features that are very satisfying, perfect for when you're stressed or you need something to keep you focused. Plus, it's portable. You can take this anywhere. One flavor a lot of people are big on is crisp mint, super refreshing and perfect for keeping you sharp throughout the day. But there are tons of flavors to pick from. You can find the one that fits you best. Over 500,000 people have already made the switch to Fume as part of their habit change journey. So if you're ready to try it for yourself, now's the time. For a limited time, if you order the Journey Pack using my code, you'll get a free Fume topper, which is a great accessory to level up your experience. Click the link, tryfume.com/lawandcrime, or scan the QR code on your screen to get yours today. In the body camera video that the audio is redacted from, we can see the moments in this conversation inside the cruiser that police are laying out the evidence they have against her. And you can see her put her head in her hands as she realizes what her fate is likely going to be. That Barfield tried multiple
I wanted
times
to
say
chase
that
them all around the
advances
goddamn
on her,
chessboard.
that all of this was the 11-year-old's fault. At the end of
Come on,
this
get your
part of
dick
the
sucked.
conversation, Barfield, according to court documents, was asked about how she was feeling. And she replies, quote, "I have my criminal justice degree. I'm in my master's program. This isn't how I want my life to be. But
What's
I
you
didn't
like,
want
bitch?
the victim to feel uncomfortable as I felt uncomfortable. But I was just trying to act like nothing happened and just be there
Come on,
for
you
him."
get your
At the
dick
end of the
sucked.
conversation in the cruiser, police say that Barfield threatened to take her own life. She was then handcuffed and taken to the county jail. And from that moment on, Barfield was held without bond. Per WAND-TV, here's the moment the judge at her first court appearance told her what the punishment could be for the charges that she faced.
It's a Class X felony, punishable by 6 to 60 years in the Department of Corrections. That will be served at 85%, followed by a mandatory supervised release of 3 years up to natural life, and up to a $25,000 fine. It is not a probation-eligible offense, and if convicted, you would have to register as a sex offender for the rest of your natural life.
Then, in August of this year, Barfield pleaded guilty to having sex with that boy. The state is now asking for a max 40 years in prison in this plea deal, opposed to the 60 years that she could have faced if found guilty at trial. As far as the Decatur Public School District, where Barfield worked, I reached out for comment in the wake of her guilty plea. They told me since they weren't a party in that criminal case, they wouldn't comment. They did fire Barfield after her arrest. The victim and his family, though, are suing the school district, and they claim what happened was not an isolated incident. I spoke to Sim Cunningham, who's representing the family, and this is what he said about his lawsuit.
What they really want to take place, though, is that other kids and other families who may have been a victim of this woman's acts to feel confident that they come forward, that we can, hold the school district accountable for the lack of supervision that resulted in Ms. Barfield being able to commit these acts.
And does the family believe that there are more victims of Allie Barfield?
Come on, get your dick sucked,
I can't speak for the family directly. There has been information that has come to light, some of which has been put into the complaint against the school district that leads us to believe that there may be more victims of Ms. Barfield, and there are likely more victims of abuse and harassment by faculty in the Decatur Public School System against students.
When Barfield was arrested, she said, according to court documents, that no other people would be coming forward saying that she sexually abused them. It's important to remember when she was confronted with these allegations, it wasn't until detectives laid out their evidence that she admitted what she was saying originally was a lie. She'll be sentenced on September 25th. Joining us now to talk about this is prosecutor and former Deputy Attorney General of Ohio, Mark Weaver. Thank you as always for being with us on Law and Crime. If you were a prosecutor on this case and you watched that body cam video of Allie Barfield, what would stand out to you?
Well, it's very good body cam footage. We can see exactly what happened. The sheriff's deputies were extremely professional in the way they executed the search warrant. She gave it up pretty quickly. She told the truth pretty quickly. Initially, she denied having sex with this child, but pretty soon when they let her know that they had recorded calls, they had text messages. There's a great case here. I wish all of the sex cases that I prosecute had as much evidence as this one. This is a pretty airtight case.
Because when you look at it, she'll be sentenced later this month. And, in the beginning, and we watch it now in hindsight, knowing the evidence that prosecutors and detectives had in this case, there was a lot. And she initially is like, well, I've never been in trouble. I'm shut, like, my house, me? And then she, after that, seems to almost blame the victim a bit, saying that he was the one who wanted explicit messages. We're talking about an 11-year-old. It's so hard to wrap your mind around. How could those statements made back in 2024 impact how a judge goes forward with whether accepting this plea deal and giving her the maximum, which I believe the state is asking for 40 years?
Yeah, the top end is 40 years. It could have been 60 years, depending on whether some of these counts would have merged and how many different sexual encounters there were. A jury would have hated her when they found out that she essentially claimed that this child, this 11-year-old little boy, a 6th grader, was somehow the instigator. A judge won't like that either. I'm going to guess that her defense lawyer is going to coach her up ahead of the sentencing have her come in there and reel back in any notion that this was the child's fault. But this is what we see with some of these sex predators. They don't see that what they're doing is wrong. They're just acting out their fantasies. They're being the person they want to be. And mind you, she's got a degree in criminal justice and is working on a master's degree. So the notion that she doesn't know somehow that this is illegal is preposterous.
Really is. Preposterous is a good word, because just reading through the court documents and the affidavit, and you see some of the statements she's making, and you're just like, what planet are you living on? And frankly, just hearing it, like, and even the line where she talked about having a criminal justice degree, and she's like, I just wanted to make him feel comfortable, or something on those lines, and you're like, what is, just as far as not from the legal standpoint, you're like, what are you talking about? When it comes to that hearing, and if she does give this emotional, statement in front of the court, how could that impact what the judge decides? Because often, I see those hearings, and the judge looks like he looks over something for maybe a couple of minutes and then makes his decision. Is there any, what impact could a statement from her, even if it's really good, have on what her sentence could be?
I've been in front of a lot of judges sentencing a lot of sex offenders over the years. And these judges typically come into the sentencing hearing with their mind made up. They have written out the words they have to say in order to make sure that the sentence sticks. And occasionally something a victim says or something the defendant says, you'll see the judge adjust it, reach over with a pen and maybe scratch something out or maybe fill in a blank. But most judges are ready with an idea of what they want to do before they even set foot, and then only in these marginal cases do they change it. Judges are also really good at seeing through sort of courtroom conversions, right? When you read what she said she admitted to, and when you watch the footage of the warrant call the police did, that's when you see the real.
Now it's time to start digging out some fucking bones.
Properly dressed and properly coached and is reading from a script. Good judges know that the way the defendant appears in court is often a put on.
So she'll end up, 20 years off of what she could have received as the max if she was found guilty if she took this to trial. And just reading through the court documents and all the evidence, just even sending explicit pictures, which police have, to an 11-year-old boy, why make a deal when it seems like you would have had her dead to rights if you were a prosecutor?
In nearly every case where a prosecutor pleads a child sex case out,
come on and get your dick sucked.
Two basic reasons. One is certainty of conviction, which I think would have been present here anyway, but more importantly, not making an 11, probably 12-year-old boy soon sit in a witness stand in front of a bunch of strangers and say what happened in the most embarrassing thing in his life. You're always trying to protect the child from re-victimization. And that's the key thing. This woman is not going to get 40 years. And I'm not suggesting what she did was good. I prosecuted all sorts of people who molested children all the way down to as young as 2 years old. And given this circumstance, the judge will not send her for 40. She will get 10 or 15. I don't know the judge. But that would be more typical for a one-victim child sex offender like this woman.
Even if it's one where because I'm sure for people, that's what it's been reported, that it was like a max of 4 years, and the judge goes down to 10. And what impact could the fact that she was a teacher, she's given this position of power to, and anybody who is an adult who is accused of these crimes, convicted of these crimes, they had a position of power over a child, but she was an educator, she did it. How does that factor into how some of these cases play out in terms of sentencing?
Jesus.
Yeah, Chris, I want to be clear. I'm certainly hoping she gets a longer sentence. I've just observed enough of these over the years, and the judges have as well. I prosecuted a child sex offender a year or two ago who had sex with his girlfriend's young daughter every day over several months, 7 days a week. Over 7 months.
Stupid! I'm here, you're right.
34 years. I'm just comparing that there are degrees of sex offenders out there, but your point is well taken. Somebody who has sex with an 11-year-old should go to prison, and a teacher who has sex with an 11-year-old should go to prison for even longer. She has a special responsibility to not victimize these children who the parents placed in her care.
Right, and that's the part of it too, where it just seems like it was this facade almost. She's a teacher, and then there was this play date because she had children in her house. It's so hard to comprehend, especially when it's a teacher or someone like that. I had great teachers, I mean, I think we all have, but then there's just so many of these cases that come up. In your career, what have you seen as far as trying to understand why some of these people will cross a line and frankly blast right past through a line where they're a teacher and then suddenly they're in a situation like Allie Barfield is?
Part of it is technology. Evil has always been with us since the fall of mankind. So evil's always been around, but the technology allows that evil to permeate in a way it didn't 50 years ago. So when I was a kid, or when you were a kid, a big moment would be running into your teacher at the grocery store. That would be the contact you have. You'd see the teacher in school, and then once in a while you'd see them out in the real world. Now with Snapchat, which she said she was using, and all these other social media devices, and parents who give young children phones and let them take them into the room and close the door, there is a pathway for this evil to take its path towards molesting a child. And then all you have to do is come up with a reason. Let's have a play date, or I'm going to go drive this child somewhere, or I'm going to invite them over. So technology doesn't cause it, but technology allows it to happen in a way that wasn't true 50 years ago.
Because I think it stood out to me too in the court documents that we have, where she said that she put her phone number up on the wall at school for the 6th graders. And that felt like something of crossing a line, where it's like I could see her giving her phone number to parents, but then giving all these 11-year-olds your phone number, and then she's on Snapchat and on TikTok and on all these different apps. That seemed like it was, for a teacher, that was a major crossing of the line. From, there's a civil lawsuit that's playing out right now from the victim's family to the school district, but from a criminal aspect, if, say, a civil suit finds that certain things were not done by the school, they haven't had comment on either the civil or criminal case. But what type of investigation is typically done of a school district after a teacher like this is found guilty to make sure that there isn't some systemic issue within that school district where this could happen more?
Two primary ways of holding schools accountable. Number one is through the civil lawsuit process, where they're going to have to pay money for if they were found to be negligent. And number two is the regulatory process. Whatever Illinois does to regulate schools like this, that ability to take away their school license exists. Rarely is anybody at school charged criminally for an act that they did not know about. If the school had policy saying don't do this, if it had training, now there's some indication she might not have taken the training, but if they had training saying don't do this, that is typically enough to keep a school from being criminally charged. As a prosecutor, I'm not interested in what the school did unless one of those administrators knew and then didn't tell law enforcement. Then I'm very interested in talking to that person and potentially charging that person.
And in your career, when you've had to prosecute sex cases like this with sexual predators, because I think in our mind, when we think of a sexual predator, there's probably a stereotype that comes in of a man mostly doing it, but then in some of these cases with teachers, you see, in her case, she's in her 30s, she's a young woman who's teaching in school. I mean, have you seen a profile? How does the profile vary of the predators in these cases, maybe beyond the stereotype that has been out there for a long time, but when someone thinks of what a sexual predator actually looks like?
Yeah, there's not a profile that's going to help parents at all, but you are right that there are instances of good, we call them good guy predators, people who are otherwise nice and kind to your children, people who are involved in your child's life in a positive way on the one side, maybe showing up their games and cheering them on or whatever, or giving them a high five when they get a good grade on the way out of the classroom. But on the other side, they're taking advantage and victimizing the child. And so parents just need to protect their children. That means knowing what they're doing and enforcing, this is one of my rules, no adult can be talking to my child without me knowing that topic of conversation. And so this notion that, hey kids, here's my phone number, call me directly, that's inappropriate.
And what is it like for you, and I mean, you having prosecuted one of these cases recently, I think of a plea hearing day where, as a prosecutor, a lot of the work, it feels like it's been done. You were able to get a conviction, she's pleading guilty, she's going to go to jail for years. But what is it emotionally like for you waiting to hear what a judge is going to say as far as what that sentence is going to be?
Every time this has happened to me, I really feel for the victim. I meet with them before the hearing and almost always after the hearing. My heart goes out to them. So many people.
At any point during sex with this student or after sex with this student did you say, in the eyes of the law, I just committed rape?
Suck my dick, bitch.
I don't think no, I didn't say that.
She was young, blonde, and beautiful, a teacher who looked more like a pop star than someone that should be standing at the front of a classroom. But Deborah LaFave wasn't making headlines for her looks. Indeed, she was making them for a crime that shocked the nation. LaFave wasn't just a teacher, she was a predator, grooming and exploiting a 14-year-old boy in her care. Here's what made the case so explosive. Whilst most offenders rightly face decades behind bars, Deborah's punishment sparked outrage. So many people believe she got away with it. And was it her appearance? Was it her gender? Or was this just another example of a justice system riddled with double standards? Because this isn't just a story of scandal, it's a story that forces us to ask, who really gets protected when crimes like this are committed? This has been one of those that I promise you will leave you conflicted, as it has me. Also, before I crack on with the details of today's case, just say a big thank you to all of you returning again to watch my content. Thank you so much. If you have returned and you haven't subscribed yet, thank you. It takes you a second, and it makes a difference to me and how I reach people. And also, if you give me a like, that also helps apparently. So please go ahead and do that.
I touched
Also,
her
those of you supporting me,
head. She's got a head that's bigger than be touched.
without you, hope you enjoy all your extra content there. Let's talk about the perpetrator. Let's talk about Deborah LaFave. So she was born as Deborah Jean Beasley on August 28, 1980. She was born in a very nice area of Florida, and of course Florida synonymous with sunshine. And when she was growing up, she had a regular family. She had a really great relationship with her sister Angie, and she really loved her time with her sister. In fact, she saw her sister as a mentor as much as she was a sibling and a friend. And it seems that LaFave, from the very early days of her childhood, had this dream. The dream was she was going to become a teacher. She used to play with the toys, and she used to make out she would be the teacher at the head of class.
Come on and
get
your dick sucked.
And that stays with her through her childhood, and she does well at school.
Come on and
so
get your
she
dick
goes on to
sucked.
excel through East Bay High School. That was until her junior year in 1996. She then moved to Bloomingdale High School, and in 1998 she graduated there. And obviously that means there was some kind of fracture in her education, but essentially she still attains academically very, very effectively. Now, after she finishes school, she goes to the University of South Florida. This is where she earns a degree in English. So she's an academic button, so to speak. But things weren't always easy for her. So during the teenage years, she allegedly experienced rape, early sexual exposure, which can also have impacts as you grow older regarding relationships. She also struggled in her childhood with depression, and she also went through periods of suicidal ideation, and she dealt with eating disorders. She was also somebody who genuinely felt that she wasn't good enough when it came down to her body, and certainly these were all things that culminated in understanding there was some mental distress when she was growing up. Now, reportedly, she dated Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys. That's going to go through your head all day. Backstreet's back, all right. But basically, they meet at school. They were both students at East Bay High School. So it's in 1995 to 1996. She was between 15 and 16 years of age at that point. So he was her first ever boyfriend. And they dated for around a year and a half. Now, at this time, teenage Deborah LaFave is basically desperate to be rich and famous herself. And Nick's manager, he was actually in the process of working with her and having a learn a song that he was considering having her record. Because she looks amazing, doesn't she? She could be a front singer of a band or a solo artist. She looks that good. Now, Carter claimed that the reason that they split up was she'd actually cheated on him with a classmate. And understandably, that betrayal meant that Nick's manager stopped contacting her.
So to some degree, that's the end of that potential singing career. And Nick later said that his publicist actually advised him to keep the fact quiet that he'd even lost his virginity to her when the case had broken in the news. So this was something that even when Nick was famous, people were saying, well, you don't want to be associated with this in your past because this woman has been accused and indeed finally found guilty of something absolutely disgraceful. Now, like I said, during the relationship with Nick Carter, she ends up having a relationship with a female classmate. And one could look at her past and say, considering she suggested that she was raped when she was younger, this could be a reaction to feeling that men were unsafe. I'm not saying that people engage in lesbian relationships or bisexual relationships all the time because of that, but certainly the research seems to evidence that women often seek relationships with women, yes, because of attraction, but also because they feel a level of safety around those women. So I'm not saying that's absolutely the psychological reason why she ends up cheating on Nick with a woman. I'm saying that there is certainly a potential that trauma leads her to feel that maybe exploring a relationship with a female would be something that she'd be engaging in to try to deal with some of the trauma that she'd experienced around men. Now, her mum finds out, and her mum is not happy. She's not happy that she's engaged in the same-sex relationship, and this is why that break in her education occurs when she leaves one school to go to another. Her parents basically withdrew her from East Bay High. This is again when she's around 15 to 16 years of age. Apparently, it's because her mother disapproved of her romantic involvement with the girl that was a classmate, and she basically wanted to cut ties. Now, that in itself is very distressing. If you're a young person and you end up in a situation with a girl or a boy, and your parent finds out, and they're so annoyed with those choices or ashamed of those choices, they literally remove you from your peer group, from your friendship network, from everything you've known before, because that tells you a really powerful message. It says your choices are bad, and you should feel a level of shame over them. Now, add to that the mix that we have here, with LaFave saying that she went through trauma and abuse as a young person, and that's going to be a heady mix walking forward where sex is concerned, very much mingled and mixed with shame and fear, and that certainly can have an impact in some of the choices that we make down the line. By the way, this is not going to excuse her behaviour whatsoever when we're talking about her being with a young person, but I'm just highlighting how trauma can certainly play into sexual relationships. Now, like I said, Deborah LaFave alleges that she was raped by a classmate. This is when she was in 8th grade, so she'd have been around 13 to 14 years of age at that point. And she said that those assaults, they weren't a one-off, they've been going on for an extended period of time. And there's this one occasion where a teacher basically catches Deborah LaFave and this classmate who's abusing her in a bathroom at the school. Now, she said that that actual engagement was non-consensual, but the teacher, understandably, I can completely comprehend why they would have thought this. They thought that the two of them were just fooling around, and basically said, look, I'm not going to report you. Obviously suggests don't do this again, but she isn't going to take it any further. So they were not aware at the moment in time that LaFave was not in a consensual situation. And when she was interviewed about this, because understandably this has come up in interviews when they've asked her about the abuse that she suffered, why didn't you tell the teacher this was happening to you? And she said, you know, when somebody has that kind of control of you, especially at 13, I didn't tell anybody. She also described the rapes as violence. So that's a very pivotal period of time when you're 13 years of age, particularly as a young girl, and to go through that kind of aggressive, violent, non-consensual situation, that is obviously going to cause fractures within your psyche. It's certainly going to impact your mental health enormously. It's also going to make you realise that having sex at a time when you're certainly not ready, and in this case not willing, is going to have huge ramifications for you as a human being. So the last thing you should want to do with that in mind is ever carry out any kind of harm to a young person sexually. Because you're going to be the person who absolutely is in the driving seat of understanding how awful that is. Just keep that in mind when we talk about this case. Now, apparently during her childhood years, she did have issues. So she had obsessive behaviours, she had phobias. As I said, she went through an eating disorder, and she actually tried to take her life at least on 2 occasions. One was during an overdose, and another was through cutting her wrist. So they are serious attempts at life, and clearly that speaks to a deep unhappiness that was within her at that moment in time. But in spite of the fact that all this is going on, like I said, she's bright, she's clever, she's academic. So she ends up going to the University of South Florida, and even when she's struggling with mental health there, in fact one of her friends says, well, you need to see a psychiatrist. And indeed she does go see a psychiatrist, and they do diagnose her with depression. It will turn out to be the wrong diagnosis, but nonetheless it's clear there are things going on for her on a mental health level. They actually prescribe her Zoloft. And initially she said that really helped me. I felt like I was not crying anymore, I didn't feel as emotional anymore. But after a relatively short period of time, it just stopped working effectively. And some people believe that mental health drugs are effective, some people believe they aren't, some people think they're a placebo effect. It's irrelevant. What matters is the individual subjective experience, and certainly for her the lift is immediate and sustained for a period of time, but then she drops back to where she is, and those drugs don't feel like they're working effectively. And that is down to the fact that it is an incorrect diagnosis, which I'll come to later on. Then she goes through a really horrific family tragedy, and it is just awful. Her older sister, Angela Beasley, Angie, who was 5 months pregnant, she's killed. She's killed in April 2001 by a drunk driver. The offender was actually an army officer. He later received a 30-year sentence, so it was taken incredibly seriously that he killed this pregnant woman. And you can just imagine, can't you? For somebody like Lefebvre, who's unbelievably connected to his sister, sees her as a mentor, a guide, somebody who offers a great soothing in her life, from what I can understand, is suddenly ripped away from her. And not just ripped away from her as an individual, but actually taking her unborn niece or nephew with her. That is obviously going to be deeply traumatic and life-changing on so many levels. Now, despite this utterly devastating trauma, she does still manage to graduate with an English degree. And it's also during the time at university that she starts dating her future husband, Owen Lefebvre. Now, they didn't meet in high school, they were actually both dating other people at the time, they were attracted to each other, but they didn't take any further. So it wasn't until she was doing her degree that they reconnected and they did begin dating seriously. So she earns that degree around 2002. At this point, she secures successfully a position as an English teacher, specialty was reading, at Angelo L. Greco, a middle school in Temple Terrace, Florida. So it's going really well. Now, a year into that teaching position, Owen and Lefebvre married. That's in July 2003, so she really is thriving. She's got her husband, she's got her career, everyone loves her, she's apparently very, very popular. I mean, not just for her looks, but just for her attitude and general demeanour. And one of the things that I'd say about her looks is, it's clear from very early on in her life, she was aware that she was attractive. It's clear that when people related to that, she was given modelling options, she was in various magazines, and are quite glamour orientated, less catwalk orientated. So this is somebody whose looks have worked for her during her childhood, teenagehood, and into her early 20s. But what we can also say is, bear in mind, she has been sexualised early on. Through the abuse, through the rape, and then through being placed in the magazines because of her body and so on and so forth. And yet she has all these conflicts within her. She has the suicidal ideation, the attempt, the health issues. So it seems like on the outside everything is great, but on the inside it's often capsized and being really challenging for her. Now, understandably, when she's married to Owen, she takes his last name, so she becomes Deborah Lefebvre, and she does at this point seem, shall we say, on a path towards a promising future, a promising personal and professional life. But it's not plain sailing, and no relationship is ever plain sailing. Even in the honeymoon period, we can go through problems, and there are issues in her marriage. In fact, her ex-husband, Owen, gave interviews and said that Deborah was initially a good wife. She's very loving, but he noticed really early on in the relationship she had quite severe mood swings and she went through some emotional struggles. He said, like she had noted before, she was treated for depression, she was treated for an eating disorder, so it validates what she talks about regarding her mental health. But he did downplayed the severity in the interviews I've heard, and part of that will probably be the anger and resentment that he feels to some degree about our actions. Part of it will be that he probably didn't understand the severity of it, because we don't when we're not actually the person going through it. So even though he downplays it, doesn't mean that it wasn't serious as far as she was concerned. And Deborah later says in interviews herself that genuinely her emotional state during her marriage meant that she did make some really poor judgments. She did get involved in risky behaviour. Bear in mind, at this point, Lefebvre's doing really well. She's married, she's got a dream career, and she is literally thriving professionally. She's also, at the school she taught at, gained a really excellent reputation among the students because she was considered really kind-hearted, genuinely empathic, but then things begin to spiral, both professionally, personally, and with respect indeed criminally, and this begins when she innocently agrees to assist the football coach during a school tag football game. This is when she comes into contact with her 14-year-old victim. Now, she wasn't actually teaching him at the time, he wasn't her student, but during that game he notices her, as his friend does as well, and they kind of go over and they start a conversation with Lefebvre, and this seems to be how they initially connected. Now, it is perfectly normal for young boys who see attractive teachers to feel that they might develop a crush on them. We see that constantly. Completely typical. And the deal is, kids can have as many crushes as they want on adults, because the adult knows boundaries. The adult knows what is appropriate and inappropriate. So it should not be in any way, shape or form dangerous for a teenager to develop a crush on an adult teacher.
Does she have a spin effect on?
Knows how to make it clear nothing would ever happen and to close those things down. It's as simple as that. And that's exactly what should happen in this case. But it isn't going to. Because the next time she meets this victim, it's in May 2004. This is basically during the final week of school. It's grad night, and the graduating class, like a lot of classes do, have trips out. So they end up going to SeaWorld in Orlando, and she ends up chaperoning that trip. So she's there as well with the young people. Now it seems this is a critical juncture. This is when she starts to view this 14-year-old boy in a really inappropriate manner. Now, what's even more disturbing is on that actual trip, her husband Owen was there as well. But bear in mind, he's not going to for 1 second suspect his new wife of being attracted to a kid. Why would he? He's married to an adult. He believes that that adult that he's married is attracted to him. He's not going to be concerned about a 14-year-old young man, a child essentially. Also, it's interesting that around this time he starts to suspect his wife of actually having an affair. But he thinks that she's having an affair with somebody who is an adult age, i.e. a colleague at school. So he's obviously suspicious of her and can sniff out that something is going on. And very often we see this psychologically in relationships. Very often partners will know that the person they're with is having some kind of affair because they change the way they act. They get giddy, they lose weight sometimes, they start dressing differently, they seem energized and excited. And on the whole, all those things would usually bode well, but not when you're used to that person seeming very different. And then all of a sudden they become chipper and excited and nothing's wrong with the world when last week everything was. And that really does make people suspicious who are in relationships because they think, what has changed because it isn't me? And that's often the first insight that people will have, that their partner is cheating on them. Now, after this trip, Deborah Lefebvre basically goes out of her way to get as much time with this 14-year-old as possible. So she puts him on attention to spend time with him. She actually invites his friends to go as well. So she's kind of seeing herself to some degree as a peer of these young people as opposed to an educator. And on one occasion, she basically kisses him, and then it kind of escalates, and she actually has oral sex with him. So we've now gone past any point of seeing her in a professional context. She's now in a predatory context, and she's taking this to a place where her actions are now criminal. Now, there was actually an account by one of the boy's friends who alleges that Deborah was asked by the victim to flash her breasts whilst they're in a classroom. This was outside of lesson time. Now, bear in mind, his friends were also present at that point, so it would be career suicide to do something like that. But Lefebvre apparently did pull up a shirt to reveal a tiny bit at the bottom of her bra. So She does breach a boundary there as well, because that is completely a red rag to a bull. If you've got a group of teenagers and you do that, expect that to spread gossip-wise like wildfire. I mean, teenagers are not known for containing confidential realities. When there's something as exciting as this teacher's coming on to whoever they're coming on to, is going to get talked about. So it shows you that she isn't really thinking or computing about the consequential reaction and reality
You
of what she's
stupid
doing.
bitch.
Now, apparently, on that occasion, when he asked her to show the bra, when the friends leave, they get involved intimately yet again. But they haven't had sex at this moment in time. They've had oral sex, but not actual intercourse. Now, on the last day of school, something really weird happens. One of the other students hosts a party. This boy is invited. She ends up going to the party with him. I mean, I'm not saying they actually
Come
went
on, get your
together,
dick sucked.
but the motivation behind her arriving is that he's going to be there. Now, that's really strange. She's the only
Come on,
student
get your
who
dick
thought,
sucked.
and when people notice them together, one of the things that's strange is that he actually uses terms like girlfriend to describe who she is to other people, which clearly is bizarre. This is his teacher. Again, why would she be okay being around somebody using that language that's incriminating when somebody points the finger at her and says he's saying you are his girlfriend,
Come on and
you are
get
his
your
teacher?
dick
I mean, again, that exposes her on every level, but she just doesn't seem to be
Come
that
on and get
concerned
your
about how we're
dick
thinking about this. The theme runs through. She doesn't see herself, at least during this period of time,
I
doing
got one
it
word
wrong.
of advice for you.
She sees herself as an
Thank you
equal,
for fuck your
not as an
cunt.
educator, not as a professional, and she doesn't see the relationship that she believes she's building as inappropriate at all. Now, by the end of that party, she'd given the boy her number, and apparently there was even talk about them taking it to the next level so they could have sex together. Now, bear in mind, she gets to the start of summer holidays at this point, and she's frequently speaking to him on the phone, and let's be real, from the court records that I found, the relationship between Deborah Lefebvre and her 4-year-old victim lasted just 4 weeks. So it was discovered really, really quickly. So that just demonstrates the escalation in the exploitation of this child and how quickly it happened. And also, how often young people fall prey to this kind of escalation, because they might think they're in charge, but they're not in charge, they're a child. They don't have any understanding of true relationships, of real relationships. They've got very little comparison data. So they are led by the adult. And even if the adult doesn't believe that they are the leader, it doesn't discount that they are effectively the leader, whether they like that. But otherwise, no matter how they play it. Now, it turns out that one of the things that she starts to do is to kind of have more romantic conversations with him. She tells him that she's got feelings for him, that she can't get rid of those feelings, and one of the things that she allegedly discusses is the issue she's having with her marriage. Again, you're not going to get very far with a 14-year-old, are you? No disrespect to 14-year-olds out there. I appreciate that you are bright, you are clever, you are knowledgeable in so many ways. Far more knowledgeable, for example, around youth culture than I will ever be nowadays, because I'm 927 years old. But of course you don't have a real in-depth knowledge of core relationships and intimate relationships.
I'm gonna get you in a white man's chick.
That's the adventure you're going to go on.
No,
So it doesn't sit down when you start saying, oh, by the way, my marriage is in this situation, in this state. You're not really going to be able to advise them appropriately because you've never been in that situation. That was something you'd be able to advise people of 15, 20 years down the line. Now, there have been some reports where it suggests that she told her victim that she was turned on by the fact that they were having sexual relations and that it wasn't allowed. Now, this is, with respect, something that she's very undenied. She said she'd never say that, she never said that, she's got no memory of saying that, and it's not the kind of context that she spoke within. And there are phone calls that have come onto afterwards, her and the young boy. I would say that she certainly doesn't sound like she's being sexually overt in them, but that doesn't mean that she didn't say that.
This is boring! Let's see this shit right here, you son of a bitch. Suck my dick, bitch. You suck my dick. Suck my dick, bitch.
Are you in the market for a handyman? Does that door keep on squeaking no matter how tight you screw in the hinges?
Suck my dick.
Or maybe you've got a leaking pipe under the sink and need some good old-fashioned pipe laying. Well, you can count on Larry to get the job done. Just call 1-800-LARRY. Laying pipe is definitely his strong suit.
I don't know if we do our laying pipe. But we do piping. Okay, so you're the pipe layer, basically. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But he's also good at laying plywood.
I've been hearing about this new material. It's Predator plywood. It's like a new brand Predator they have.
Larry is very versatile, and no matter how big the job is, he'll get it done. That's the Larry guarantee. And just in case you're worried that he might f*** something up due to his old age and lack of competency, just in case...
It's like a new brand Predator they have.
Larry is very versatile.
Yeah.
But he's also good at laying plywood.
I've been hearing about this new material. It's Predator plywood. It's like a new brand Predator they have.
Larry is very versatile, and no matter how big the job is, he'll get it done. That's the Larry guarantee. And just in case you're worried that he might f*** something up due to his old age and lack of competency, all of Larry's services come with a 13-year warranty. You can't pick a... And just in case you're worried that he might f*** something up due to his old age and lack of competency, all of Larry's services come with a 13-year warranty. You can't beat that. Can't afford to break the bank right now? Don't worry. Larry will drop his prices down to half off as long as you give him a cupcake. Larry absolutely loves cupcakes. But be careful not to get on his bad side. He can be a cranky old man.
I gotta go piss.
If you need any contracting services, pick up the phone today and call 1-800-LARRY. Or text SKEET ME to star 6969. Data rates may apply.
Meet 60-some-year-old Larry. On the outside, he seems like quite a stand-up guy. But behind closed doors, he can be a bit of a naughty grandpa. Unfortunately, Larry here got caught up in our sting operation and chatted online with our adult decoy for the better part of 8 months. That's a long time. During these 8 months, Larry also had many phone calls with this decoy, and it just so happened that on the day that we caught him, he decided out of the blue to stop talking to her. Go figure.
Stupid! I was so badly hoping you fuck up and do that. But I didn't count on you doing that shit, you stupid. You absent-minded fucker. Let me get some donuts. I'm
I
hungry.
could just meet you, like, not at the hotel, but like a food place or something that's like by it. Like, just let me, like...
Was Larry just harmlessly conversing online without any intentions of meeting up with the decoy? Or were his actions actually...
I didn't even think about you, slut.
Find on this episode of To Skeet a Predator. I'm your host, Skeet Hansen. Now, we had to cut a ton out of this video just to make it fit YouTube's guidelines. So if you want to see the full, uncut, and uncensored version of this video, be sure to head over to skeeterg.locals.com. Here you can find this video uncensored as well as a couple of others that aren't yet here on YouTube. You enjoying some sweet tea here? You want to have a seat over here? You were coming to meet, presumably what would be, a date in some factor. Did you bother to shower or freshen up before you came here? No. Okay, I was just seeing. I just want to see if you alive. Definitely telling the truth from what I can smell here. And you've just been skeeted in 4K.
Come get your dick sucked.
With YouTube demonetizing these kind of videos left and right, becoming a supporter on Locals really helps us keep going with taking down these bad guys. Now, upon doing a little bit of research on Larry, we did a facial recognition scan on him and found out pretty much everything that there was to know about him. But the most interesting thing that we found was that he actually owned a construction company. And this company was in the Grand Rapids area, so naturally I booked an Airbnb and called Larry up and got him to come out for a kitchen consultation. Little did he know that when he arrived, he would be questioned about the conversation that he'd been having for the last 8 months. Now, this turned out to be an absolutely wild ride, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the interaction. This time, we're back in Grand Rapids, and we're at an Airbnb. Because this time, today, we have a special guest who's going to be coming over pretty soon. And this is a picture of him. His name is Larry, aka the Naughty Grandpa. He's been talking to a online very set for the last 6-8 months, something like that. And we were able to do a facial recognition scan on him. We found out that he actually owns a construction company out here in Grand Rapids. So naturally, I posed as Doyle from Prestige Worldwide Real Estate Marketing, and I called his business number. And we now have set up a consultation for him to come and give our kitchen an inspection for this investment property that we have. And we're going to get a little bit creative for this one. We're going to take this picture here, and we're going to tape it up under the sink. And I'm going to say that we found out that there was a little diddler under the sink, and we want to check it out. So let's go and get that set up here. His name is Larry. He's not sure of his.
Come and get your dick sucked.
We're just going to take him on the pipe right here. This looks like the first thing you see when he comes down here. Just hang it right there. So that picture's under there, nice and snug. So when he goes on there to inspect, the plumbing under the sink, he's gonna see his picture.
Come and get your dick sucked.
So in the channel, we have a couple interesting things. He sent this picture of him. And this is like a mask. It looks like sort of a mask menace here. I don't know. If you ask me, he's giving Michelangelo of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is it Michelangelo? Where's the red one? Oh, Raphael. Yeah, he's giving a Raphael. He's giving a Raphael.
Last game.
Then he says he's married. Ask the girl if she likes him. He's within the kick group chat there. Asks if she's a virgin. He says, I like talking with you, but I'm skeptical of why you would want Grandpa. I mean, Larry, you're an awfully naughty grandpa, don't you think? Having this conversation. Hey Larry, it's Doyle. How's it going?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Yeah, we just got to the property here. Just want to make sure we're still on schedule with 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm headed out there now.
Okay, great.
Man, that was damn good. Son of a bitch. Let me get some fucking Fritos.
35 minutes.
Okay, cool. We'll be waiting for you. We'll see you in about 30.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Larry. Bye. He has no idea.
Little does he know.
Here it is. Just pull him up. I think that's him. I think that's Larry.
Yeah,
we told him to park on the street. So, yeah, beef on the place. Can't believe we're about to fucking do this. This is so stupid. Oh man, my heart's racing. Here it comes. Here's Larry. Here it comes. Hey, Larry. He's got a clipboard. Yeah.
Get your dick sucked.
No, definitely not.
Come get your dick sucked. Come get your dick sucked.
Hey, how's it going? Good. Hi, Doyle, Prestige Worldwide Real Estate Marketing.
You suck, man.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm the director of operations for the company. This is Alex Sebastian. He does our social media marketing. Yeah, so he's our videographer too. We're doing like a 3D walkthrough of the house before we get it all, tidied away and all that. But don't worry about the cameras. You're not going to be on anything. So yeah, no worries about that. But yeah, the place is pretty nice overall, I think. But the kitchen is where we want to sort of upgrade, because the kitchen was really it's pretty good, but we just wanted to up the game on it. You have a busy day?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Every day is busy. Like you're Bob the Builder of Grand Rapids, right? Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. So we were thinking like
let him have his
black
horse.
scheme.
Is that damn kid
the grays and blacks are just
really
really
get your dick sucked.
Yeah, the green's a little too vintage for
kiss my dick.